Hey AV Clubbers, it's John Teti, your senior editor, here with another edition of DVR Club, and I'm joined by...
Senior editor, Sean O'Neill.
Two senior editors. That's right, it's John Teti and Sean O'Neill in the same room. All your fan fiction fantasies come true, so please stop writing them and sending them to us.
Really?
Yes, we're being serious. We are here to talk about Veep, specifically the episode Data. Let's get right into our top storylines, which is the big data breach.
That's right. There's a small leak of personal information that comes out. It drives all the action, but it's sort of happening around the periphery.
What the fuck is happening?
What's a data breach? Medical, Social Security records were hacked by someone working for us and then put into the family's first press pack.
She's kind of getting eaten alive by all these, what is she negotiating this week?
The same thing she's been negotiating for what feels like 2 seasons.
Right.
The Family First bill, which I still actually don't know what that means.
They have such a talent on this show for coming up with these buzzword-laden initiatives for Selina. This week she's working on Family First, and yes, it gets derailed by this leak. And I love all the internet savvy. You know, one of my favorite episodes of the show is the Silicon Valley episode, and I feel like they have a great sense of how online media work, which not a lot of TV shows necessarily always have.
That's true. This is the first TV show that I can remember that actually uses Reddit as sort of a lurking villain out there in the ether, where Reddit actually undoes, you know, major bills being put forth in front of Congress is like taken up by some dickheads on Reddit.
Right, which is pretty accurate, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of accuracy, they also reference The Onion in this episode because The Onion does a photo comparison of what Selina will look like when she leaves office. And the joke is that she looks exactly the same. Sean, you and I hear this a lot. Working at Onion Inc., we hear people say like, oh, that could be an Onion story. And never, when people say that, does it sound like something that could be an Onion story.
Right, and this is actually pretty accurate.
Right.
But actually, I don't know about the part about where a woman in her 50s knows what the onion is actually very accurate, at least in my experience.
Let's name our episode MVPs. We've got a couple. We couldn't choose just one. And these are two minor characters who really showed the show at its best. Let's start with yours, Sean.
All right, mine was at the Easter egg hunt at the end of the episode where Selina is talking to the Easter Bunny, who turns out to be a wounded war veteran who explains to her through his Easter Bunny mask that he watched his buddy blown to pieces by an IED.
Actually, I'm really glad you're here. These kids terrify me. But I guess you've seen worse. You did 2 tours of Afghanistan?
Yes, ma'am. Saw my best buddy die over there, blown to pieces by an IED.
To me, Sean, this could be a really hokey and clumsy joke, I think, because the mascot joke is not exactly a new one. Right. What sells it for me is Julia Louis-Dreyfus keeping up the presidential, you know, talking with a war veteran air the whole time. Only at the end of the conversation do the seams begin to show. My episode MVP is the fireworks guy who hates Gerald Ford.
Well, sir, if you would like us to take our business elsewhere, we...
Grow up. I do anyone. I did balloons for Jerry Ford in '76. Met him. Asshole.
These characters pop up every once in a while on Veep, and the show loves to pay tribute to these sort of working stiffs in Washington. The people like, we see these lavish fireworks displays. We see the great Christmas tree at the end of the year every year. Somebody has to actually supply those fireworks.
Yeah, I love the way this show always kind of deflates these people's self-importance by showing how much the people on the ground actually kind of hate them.
Right. Sean, I understand you have a potent quotable for us.
I do. Fuck them. That's my, well, not you necessarily, or the show,
You did say,
or the viewers. No, the potent quotable this week is fuck them, which comes in a sort of throwaway scene between Sue and Selina, where Sue lets Selina know that she's having an apple named in honor of her.
Ma'am, the Apple Growers Association would like to name a new brand of apple after you.
Is it a good apple?
It's a baking apple.
Fuck them.
It's a scene I feel like has a lot of great subtext to it. I mean, it's something that made me think back to sort of the first season and like how much, you know, Selina would have loved having any apple named after her.
You know, it's funny you mentioned first season Selina because I also thought back to the first season, and I feel like an apple being named after her when she was vice president would have been something they dithered over for a whole episode. You know?
Right. They would have had meetings about it, weigh the various pros and cons of what kind of apple it would have been, what that apple symbolizes and that sort of thing.
But now that she's president, she just makes a snap decision on it. I like seeing presidential Selina this season, don't you?
Yeah, I like that evolution. Like, you know, she's not quite like mad with power, but she certainly is no longer hungry for power. And I kind of like that she's been given that, even if it is over something as inconsequential as what kind of apple she.
Now here we are, Sean, at Speculation Corner. This is the corner where we speculate. You're familiar with it?
The concept of speculation?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, and the corner where we do such things.
Yes, I know what both of those things mean together, too.
Okay, good. And what would you like to speculate on in this corner?
Well, now that I'm backed into the speculation corner, I'd really like to talk about Patton Oswalt's character. He has a fascination with Jonah's testicles. He routinely greets him in the hallway by grabbing his testicles, kind of like Josh Medill does with us.
Right, yeah. Little tap.
Yeah. So this sort of, I feel like there's a scene in this episode that sort of lays the groundwork for something to come later. It's, you know, Dan comes up and witnesses him doing this and says, you know, Jonah, that's not right. That's sort of sexual harassment. You know, that's something that's not normally done. And there's not really much of a joke to it. It doesn't really land anywhere, and it just sort of is left hanging.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of feel like that's leading to something.
Well, I thought maybe they were setting up that character to be the fall guy for this data breach disaster, but then the disaster gets much bigger than that, and he wouldn't be fall guy enough for that. So yeah, I'm wondering if maybe there's going to be a Dan-Jonah collaboration on these sexual harassment charges, because Dan is the one who notices it and takes, but Jonah is the unfortunate victim. Should we get the hell out of Speculation Corner at this point?
Yes, let's scramble out of Speculation Corner.
Let's say goodbye to the folks then. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with another DVR Club soon. Bye-bye.